Eric Boehlert, who apparently sports the sports, and we do not. He's like, how about those Dodgers? I'm like, how about those Dodgers? How about them? What? Oh, they won. Good.
You didn't hear the fireworks going off last night?
No,
Okay.
I did not.
All right.
I did not. Well, yay for us, right, Eric?
They're great. They're going to win the World Series. I'm excited.
Do we have things like that still? Okay,
Well,
I didn't know. I thought everything was canceled.
Like I was saying to Eric, this year is always going to be an asterisk for all sports.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
2020 is just... 2020, man, it's just ridden us hard and put us up wet. Some, glimmers of hope. You said Democrats haven't won seniors by double digits since ever. I mean, these numbers I know don't get happy, but wow, right?
No, I just tweeted something this morning. It was a poll of has Biden up 18 points, and who knows? I mean, we're not obviously going to take that to the bank. But I also tweeted, I never thought in my lifetime I would see a poll like that for any White House campaign ever. Yeah. I mean, haven't we been told for the last, we're so polarized.
Yeah.
Maybe we're not. Maybe the media is missing the big story, which the era of polarization might be over. I mean, and these are polls with likely voters, 18 points. Again, it's funny, when Reagan beat Carter in that landslide, it was like a 4 or 5 point race in the polling 2 weeks before.
Yeah.
Then he basically won every state and shocked everybody. They had their one and only debate a week before the election, which was very unusual. People looked at Reagan and said, okay, we like him. Carter obviously had a lot of problem with it. But I mean, to have 3 weeks to go, to have a candidate from either party up 15, 16, we've never seen that in American history. So I think there's something going on that the press hasn't.
You know what I look forward to is our conversation the Monday after Election Day, after a Biden landslide, when we deal with our first Democrats in disarray.
Yeah, right?
The coverage, the transition coverage. The coverage of Biden is going to be a 180 from Trump, but we'll deal with that when we get there.
I mean, speaking of timing, you retweeted the Washington Post headline, how the Sturgis motorcycle rally may have spread coronavirus across the entire upper Midwest, and you just said red state insanity. And this is battleground states right before the election, and, as we know from reporting, he just didn't care, because he's like, oh, it's just the blue states. And, I mean, Eric, it's interesting. I get, it's just as anecdotal, of course, but same thing that polling's showing. I just get letters. Irwin said, Steph, my 79-year-old brother's in a nursing home. He's tested positive, as has my 74-year-old brother and his young daughter in southeast Montana. I'm the youngest of a family of 9. I expected eventually would affect this family. This story is going to become more and more common, I suspect.
So for me, what's so sad in terms of watching this country completely be unable, I mean, we all look at the maps of the country. We all see where this virus is raging out of control, and it's the 17 states Trump might win. And it all goes back, we started talking about this in March and April, and how Fox News has literally infected this country, right? They used to infect people about taxes and immigration and domestic policy. Now they are literally infecting this country. You might have seen the clip over the weekend. It was just anecdotal. There was a Fargo city in South Dakota, which is absolutely on fire right now. South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, as you mentioned. There was a city commissioner meeting, and the city commissioners, they're talking about a mask mandate, and the city commissioner says, well, masks don't work. The virus goes right through the mask. Everyone knows that. And then people in the audience started giving him a hard time. He said, well, hey, if you keep talking, we're going to have the police escort you out. So this is where we are. Fargo, South Dakota is literally the epicenter right now. The numbers aren't that big. It's a state of 800,000 people. And so the numbers are actually through the roof. They don't have hospital beds. We have city commissioners saying masks don't work. Yeah. People don't just wake up in that demented state. It is fed to them. Yeah. It's fed to them on the internet through Fox News.
How about this story? This guy in Wichita, Kansas, that mirrors the Governor Whitmer thing. He tried to kidnap the Democratic mayor of Wichita over anti-masking, but they said he said something like masks are tyranny, and he also was upset that he couldn't visit his mother in a nursing home. You can't visit your mother in a nursing home because of mask holes. because the president has not encouraged people not to wear masks. I mean, it doesn't even make any sense anymore, but it's like, oh, this is the thing now. We're going to kidnap and kill Democratic, officials that are trying to keep us from killing ourselves, right?
Yeah, I mean, the United States is not the only country now facing a second surge, or I don't even know if the first one ever went away.
Right.
Europe is struggling. Everyone is struggling, apparently, except China, whose economy is now booming. We have such a higher mountain to climb. We have such a more difficult task compared to France or Germany or wherever, because we have 40% of this country which is detached from reality. And it's exactly like you're saying, what's happening in Wichita and this Fargo city commissioner. And people who, particularly the Beltway press, which kind of turned a blind eye to Fox News. Well, they're just partisan, it's just politics. This isn't a big problem. This is a huge problem.
Well, and it seems like it's becoming what the election is about. Neera Tanden tweeted there were 70,000 positive cases yesterday. That's as high as it's ever been, and this is a controllable virus. Look at New Zealand. Incompetent leadership in a crisis kills. And, of course, the Prime Minister of New Zealand just reelected in a landslide, largely because of how well she handled the coronavirus. I mean, who is it? Oh, my God, Jake Tapper with, I think it was Lara Trump, was just incredible. She just kept trying to do the talking points, and he's like, no, we have the worst response in the entire world. No, we have the most deaths. No, you just can't spin this anymore. I think is, anyway. So here we go with this coronavirus. What do you call it? With the Senate will vote on proposals for roughly $500 billion, and you said $500 billion. Dems passed in May a $3 trillion bill. And you said it's not gridlock. They used gridlock in the headline again. There's no COVID relief bill because Republicans don't want a COVID relief bill, period.
Yeah, no, I just posted a column at PressRunMedia this morning on this and taking kind of a deep dive into this. The press is really committed to the both sides story, right? They look at this COVID relief bill. They say, oh, Democrats have a bill for $2.2 million. The White House has a bill for $1.8 million. And Wolf Blitzer jumps down Nancy Pelosi's throat last week saying, why can't you do a deal? Why can't you do a deal? People are suffering. Wolf Blitzer doesn't talk to Bill Barr like that or any other Republican administration official, but he felt like he could have a fight with Nancy Pelosi. But the point is, they completely missed the story. There is no $1.8 trillion White House deal because Republicans in the Senate eviscerated it.
Yep.
They told the White House, there's no way we are ever going to spend $1.8. So Nancy Pelosi doesn't have anyone to negotiate with. Trump one day says, I'm calling off negotiations. Next day he goes on Twitter, go big or go home. He sends a bill up to McConnell. McConnell's caucus says, are you crazy? We are never going to vote for this. And Nancy Pelosi goes on CNN and Wolf Blitzer says, why don't you take the deal? There is no deal to take.
I know.
The only thing Republicans will vote on is this comically small $500 billion bill. And Democrats and Nancy Pelosi get tagged in the headline. Pelosi plays hardball, won't come up with a deal.
Yeah.
There's no deal to be made because they don't want a deal. And real quick, the reason those $600 checks ended in July wasn't because of Congress. It was because Republicans forced those checks to stop.
That's right. Now here's where you sporting the sport all comes full circle. Okay. You said last Saturday afternoon, Florida coach Dan Mullen was pushing for a school to allow 90,000 fans. By Wednesday, the game was postponed due to an outbreak of COVID. By Saturday, Mullen announced he had COVID-19 himself. I mean, this is just okay. Okay. And finally, can I just say, go ahead. Sorry.
A quick report on the sports. Big Ten football starts next weekend, right? Again, you look at the map. Who is on fire? Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and they're going to start Big Ten football. And the SEC in the South, the coaches are sick, the players are sick. Everyone thinks they can just plow through this and make money, and that's not how pandemics work.
Yeah. By the way, loved your piece. Enablers, NBC rewards Trump for blowing up the Biden debate. Yes. I mean, and thank God you went to your point because you're psychic as well. Biden's ratings were way bigger than Trump because we're tired. We're ready to cancel this reality show. He has junked the shark. No one wants to hear the same bolt over and over and over again. But you're right. NBC, what do you do? And you made a good point, Eric. They could have had it at a different time if this was about. They could have, so that it was no kind of.
The NBC event was only 60 minutes. They could have put it at 7 o'clock. They could have, and it was clearly Trump demanded 8 p.m. And just real quick, a lot of people in the media cheered Savannah Guthrie. Oh, she did a great job. She made, these objections to this forum were completely blown up because she did a great job, and so this was a great idea. No, she did an okay job, I thought. And I also wondered if Washington Post said she was one of the first to hold Trump accountable. Why are we 4 years into this?
Right.
And now just holding him accountable.
And real quick, can we touch on the Hunter Biden Russian? Because you retweeted Glenn Greenwald. You're like an expert in Russian disinformation. Has thoughts? I mean, in terms of not repeating 2016, Eric, how many times can we say? I get so sick when people go, "Oh, Hillary was just was just an unlikable, was a bad candidate." Eric, let me just tell you, I voted for Obama in the primary whatever with Hillary, because I said the same thing. There's been too many years of, negative on the Clintons and, too many people in the country hate her. That was not true in the 2016 primary because of the way she full-throatedly supported Obama and served him as Secretary of State. She had a 70% approval rating when she left the State Department. So don't tell me she was historically unpopular. It was a massive Russian disinformation campaign that did that. Yeah. Kevin McCarthy admitted it was all their endless hearings on email in Benghazi. So but I mean, in terms of repeating the same mistakes, because you're right, some on the far left are jumping on this ridiculously, obviously bogus New York Post Hunter Biden story, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're really running on fumes. The New York Times had a story over the weekend. The New York Post couldn't even find people to put their names on that story. And we're talking about the New York Post.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is awful. But, it wasn't just Russian disinformation in 2016. The press wanted it. The press wanted that story, right? And so there was the
press. It was misogyny. It was, I mean.
And real quick, so the New York Times on the front page story today, they have a story, voters who didn't like Hillary, but they like Biden. Gee, there's a lot of people who didn't vote for Hillary and who like Biden. And wow, this is an interesting phenomena. As I pointed out on Twitter over the weekend, not one sentence in that story about how the New York Times and the press treated Hillary Clinton in 2016 and portrayed her.
All right, Eric, we're not doing it again. We're not going back to 2016.
No.
Going forward. Love you, Eric. Eric Boehlert in Sexy Liberal making his very first appearance.